Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of Imperial Diecast. In this week's episode, we're going to take a look at one of my favorite sports coupe convertibles, the second generation BMW Z4, codenamed E89, in this beautiful dark metallic blue. This is a 1/24 scale model made by Motormax, and it is also available in white, black, and this dark blue. I think I paid like 16 euros for this car. Now, officially, this is the fourth generation because BMW recently decided to create the Z series and incorporated the Z3 as well as the Z8 into this new line. But for this review, I'll go with the old classification in that this is the second generation of the Z4, codenamed E89, and it is the successor of both the first generation Z4's E85 Roadster and E86 Hardtop. The second generation Z4 is also the only model in BMW's Z line to come up with a retractable hardtop roof, which means that there are no separate Roadster and Coupe versions of the car, which is why it only has one codename, E89. So apart from Motormax, there's one other company that makes the E89 BMW Z4 in 1/24 scale. And this is a model that I've seen at my local store called Drogeriemarkt Müller, which sells 1/24 scale diecast cars. And since the box bears their branding, I assume this is some kind of in-house company of theirs called Toy Place. I've seen these cars in their store but didn't buy one because, first of all, they have a huge sunstrip obscuring most of the windshield, and more importantly, they always look quite scuffed up due to the fact that the packing they come in doesn't have a protective covering. On purpose, because the model is advertised as a toy with batteries and lights and sound, and it's one of those try-me packagings. This model does not have any lights or sounds. It's a typical diecast model, but it did come in a protective box and is therefore very clean. I'm not aware of any other budget manufacturers who make the E89 Z4. In 143, Herpa makes them for a similar price as this 124 Motormax one, but on the 143 Herpa, nothing opens. And in 118, Mini Champs makes them for about 90 euros, but those are also sealed models where nothing opens. If you want an E89 with opening parts in 118 scale, there's really only the Kyosho. But because it also came with an intricate retractable hardtop mechanism, everyone bought it a few years ago, and that's why it is ridiculously hard to find. And if you do find it, the price will have probably more than doubled by now. So looking at the front, we have a BMW logo right here, and the classic iconic kidney grille. Now looking at the headlights, this is really the quickest way you can recognize this to be a second generation Z4. And I feel they capture the sleek BMW design perfectly, while the first gen headlights were a bit boring. And I really am not a fan of the looks of the current G29 third generation. These headlights remind me of the headlights of the F10 5 series. Now, while on my model, the right headlights are a bit fogged up for some reason, the left ones are perfect. And not only that, but the headlights themselves have a gorgeous level of detail. These are BMW's dynamic xenon headlamps. I mean, look at that. This is a 1/24 scale Motormax, but these headlights look great. No pegs either. I also like this three-dimensional DRL pattern down here, although it is plastic rather than a separate light. Now this model of mine actually came with a flaw in that it actually did not come with this BMW logo mounted here. So what I had to do was I had to take this BMW logo from one of the stickers on the rims right over here and stick it onto the hood instead. And then what I did was I printed out a small BMW logo, approximately 2 millimeters by 2 millimeters, and stuck it on the rim instead. So while the sticker here is not as good looking as these BMW logos that come with the car, I had to make do. And while I was doing that anyway, I printed out another one and stuck it on the steering wheel. So that's another nice little extra bit of detail there. And now let's move on to the side of the car. One thing you'll be able to tell immediately is that we have a BMW fender logo right here. And below it, we have a little branding. And what it says is S-Drive 35i. This tells you that this is the base level S-Drive, while there is also an optional M Sport trim which includes stiffer suspension. So this is the S-Drive 35i, and if we pop the hood, it has a 3-liter twin-turbocharged inline-6 engine with 302 horsepower at 5,800 RPM and capable of 0 to 100 in just over 5 seconds. This is a 1/24 scale Motormax, so no brake calipers, not even brake discs. But on the Pro side, while they may just be stickers that can easily peel off, we at least have BMW logos on the center of the rims. And since this is not necessarily the industry standard on a 1/24 scale car, especially on a Motormax, I consider this to be also a nice feature. And here's a look at the back of the car. Again, we have a BMW logo on the trunk lid, as well as a Z4 logo on the right. Below we have a German license plate saying BNY 6102. To either side of it we have these red, I guess they're brake lights, which is a nice extra feature. And further down we have tailpipes. Now these tailpipes are colored in. This was not something that I did, so kudos to Motormax on that one. And up here we also have another brake light. Now looking at the tail lights, I mean, they do have pegs on the edges, but at least not dead center. And the lights themselves actually have a nice texture going on. You can see these lines up here, and the DRL strip below also has a little bit of features, so that's good. Now usually Motormax interiors, especially in 1/24 scale, are completely black and nothing is painted. But here, we actually have a very nicely done interior for a 1/24 scale car by Motormax. The seats are painted white, and they really contrast with the dark blue and the black very nicely. Same goes for these silver parts here. And half the dashboard is white as well. You also got your buttons here. These are your fan speed and temperature control buttons. And down there you have your radio and CD player. Since this is an S-Drive 35i, it comes with a 6-speed manual transmission. You can see the steering wheel does have some buttons on the left and the right, and that logo is actually something that I printed 2 millimeters by 2 millimeters from my printer and stuck on the steering wheel, because the model itself does not come with a BMW logo on the steering wheel. But now I think it looks better. You can see the instrument panel behind the steering wheel. It's got the gauge cluster, the speedometer and rev meter on it. And this steering wheel actually corresponds to the front wheels, which can swivel ever so slightly. Let me show you. It's just about this much, not more than that. But you have to keep in mind that 1/24 scale Maestos, for example, do not even have swiveling front wheels, so compared to that, it's slightly better. But yeah, I mean, overall, I have to say that I think the interior for a Motormax 1/24 scale is pretty nicely done. The white and the black contrast each other nicely. In terms of flaws, this car does have a few. I mean, you can expect this from a budget model, like paint bubble here, and here, and a little bit of extra plastic It's part of the mirror stuck underneath the windshield, so unfortunately I cannot get that out, otherwise I would scratch the windshield. But, you know, nothing major. And I still think that it's a very pretty looking convertible. So here's a look at the bottom of the car. You can see that it says Motormax, used under license 124 scale, made in China. And it's got a pretty interesting level of detail, especially at the back. But what I find quite interesting is these lines here. I mean, it looks like a W and a few other glyphs, I guess. Never seen these on the bottom of a car. Quite interesting. Guys, I hope you liked this review. I've also reviewed the E89 Z4's predecessor, the E86 in 134 scale by Kinsmart, and you're going to find the review here. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.